for powerboat competition. Coming up next on the premier show for competition, we get set for race number 4 of the Pacific Offshore Championship Series. If you want to stay on the hunt for a title, then you better be ready to hammer down the throttle and hold on tight, because the action's just about to go up a notch right here on Speed Vision.
Welcome to Huntington Beach, California. More specifically, we're at the Peters Landing Marina. That's our site as APBA's Competition Offshore presents coverage of the 1999 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Hello, everyone. I'm Ian Howard, and I'm joined by Greg Reichman of the A711 Entrepreneur Magazine race team. Now, Greg, just like many of our other Pacific Offshore sites, here in Huntington Beach, another rough water venue.
That's right. Traditional offshore here in Huntington Beach. Ian, I was out in it for about 2 hours this morning on the Pacific Dive and Rescue Medical Boat with John Baker. 2 to 3 foot swells around 11 o'clock, but that changes rapidly, especially when the wind comes up, and we had about a 20-knot wind by 1:15, and the race will kick off at 1 o'clock. I think it's going to be a predictable 6 to 7 foot swell, and that's going to be very abusive on these race boats, abusive on the race teams. The key here, finishing in one piece across the finish line, completing all the laps to get full points. That's how you're going to win a championship, and obviously that's the only reason why these teams are here.
Now, this is only the second time the Pacific Offshore has been here, Greg. How do these guys prepare to run?
You've got to set your boat up conservatively. All the little rigging issues, bolts, nuts, trim pumps, drives, everything that's bolted to this piece of fiberglass that we race has to be checked and double checked. Make sure that everything's intact, everything is just exactly perfect when you start one of these races, because if there's even a little bit of play, maybe in a lashing or any piece on the boat, it'll fall off in Huntington Beach. You're re-entering the water at 80, 90 miles an hour in most cases, and it's quite an impact. So you've just got to have your crew chiefs on top of it all, and obviously throttlemen, you got to make those adjustments, keep the boat conservative, finish the race.
Well, this is just our 4th race of the season. All the point standings still well up in the air. But before we get to the race action, let's show you a bit of Huntington Beach and here at Peters Landing Marina, this city also known as Surf City.
Now into its 2nd year, Huntington Beach has done plenty to make itself known as a haven for powerboat competition. Once again, Peters Landing Marina is the launch site for all the fun and excitement of powerboat racing. Pacific Offshore, along with 34 teams, have taken up position in the wet pits, eagerly awaiting the race ahead. Again this year, Pacific Offshore has teamed up with the Make-A-Wish Foundation to offer those with life-threatening illnesses a chance to make their wishes come true.
For many of them, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get out and be able to just go out on one of these boats and to be able to be with all the racers. And it's great, and it's great examples for the kids, too. New guys to look up to.
Now, you might be wondering what these kids wish for. Well, how about an afternoon on a race boat? Several of the teams at Huntington Beach donated their time in boats to make some wishes come true for some very special kids from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The teams of Ultimate Warlock, Twister, Team Performance Marine, College Wood, and Seabreeze provided rides and the thrill of offshore for these young children and their families. Racers even let some of these very special kids drive their boats, which turned out to be quite a thrill. To these kids, Michael Pacewich and Daryl Notke are as big of heroes as a Griffey Jr., a McGuire, or a Sosa.
You got to think of it. We go to work each day. We come on the weekends, race our boats, have fun. These kids, in turn, are going to the hospital, getting treatment. You know, the parents have the financial obligation of all that. You know, they're ripped off in life, basically, and, you know, we're here to help them out a little bit and just show them a day of sunshine and what boat racing is all alike. And, gosh, we just had a great time. This year, we've got a lot more people that came into play. We had Hustler powerboats, Performance Marine Hustler. We had Segal surfboards, donated a surfboard to raffle off. I mean, it just, all these people got wind of it and just picked up and helped us out a bunch. You know, and then all the team members, you've got everyone here, Warlock, gosh, the Seabreeze boat, they all pitched in and helped us out, and it just, the Twister boat, once again. Great guys.
We're off. Green. Inman over here.
When we return to race number 4 of the 1999 Pacific Offshore Championship Series from Huntington Beach, we get set for green flag action. Stay tuned, because the excitement is just getting underway.
Hi, I'm Matt Grant.
I'm Craig Cleaver.
And we're with
Haas CNC Offshore Racing Team.
Coming next, green flag action here on Speed Vision.
Huntington Beach, California.
We're about set to race on this beautiful day from Huntington Beach, California. Picture-perfect conditions, temperatures about 80 degrees, sunny and clear, but as custom, Greg, a slight chop on the Pacific Ocean.
I'd say it's more than a slight chop, Ian. You've probably got a good 4 to 6 foot swell. Pretty aggressive out by the beach, and we run pretty close to the beach here at Huntington, so you're going to see the boats catching a lot of air, and obviously that's what offshore is all about. How do the throttlemen and drivers control these boats in a very turbulent ocean swell?
On board we go with M7 Jelly Belly, Rick Bowling, his son, Ryan Bowling. They were 1 lap away from winning in Oceanside to make it a three-peat, and now Renegade, M99.
Ferguson putting on his driving gloves there, and he's going to need them today. A brutal environment out in Huntington Beach. Another team that's going to need their driving gloves today in the F301 team. That's Bob Leach and Brett Sieber, the Sieber Tech Eliminator. Factory 3 getting ready to roll.
The course, a 12.2-mile oval. We have 34 boats in all. 2 separate starts, Greg. All the boats now in position to get a flying start, waiting for that green flag.
About 55 miles per hour here. Ron Songrath on the 38-foot cigarette going to bring the field to the starting line.
Our 4th race of the season here in Huntington Beach, California, as we're at the midway point of our season, and that green flag down, and we have racing here in Huntington Beach, California.
A lot of speed real early in the race here. You can see Rick Bowling in the Jelly Belly gone again. That's the green and white boat just about the middle of your screen. Off to an early lead. Let's go on board Jelly Belly gone again.
In modified class today, Greg, 5 boats, all with a chance to win, led by M7 Jelly Belly gone again, Rick and Ryan Bowling, also your class points leaders. Then there's M80 Honker Cut Marine, Rod Kernoffel, Rick Wimp, M99 Renegade with Ferguson and Kaplan, then M69 Ragamuffin and M40 Kid Stuff. On board M7 Jelly Belly gone again, Rick Bowling, his son Ryan. Rick, 20 years of offshore racing experience, and this season, with the exception of that last race, Greg, in which he broke, the Bowlings have dominated the modified class.
Let's not count Rod Kernoffel and Cindy Kernoffel, the Honker Cut Marine skater, looking to give Bowling a run for his money here early in the race. But again, it's a long, long race, Ian. You got to finish in one piece to win. Rod is really getting a handle on this skater, the only modified boat in the fleet with the Arneson surface drive. Everyone else using a number 6 Mercury Super Speedmaster. Could make a difference in the rough water. We'll see how the handling plays out as the race progresses. But as you can see, the 37-foot Talon flying dead level, just a fabulously handling boat. Not quite as twitchy as some of the skaters, and Rick Bowling using that to his full advantage here in the early stages of the Huntington race.
There's the modified class leader, M7 Jelly Belly gone again. Rick, his son Ryan Bowling out of Alamo, California. Greg, Rick has just had an amazing run in Pacific Offshore, winning 3 consecutive titles and in good position to win his 4th this year.
Very, very consistent and extremely competitive as usual. And you know, the Talon really runs very level and somewhat conservative, still able to make the speed. I'm very impressed with the hull, and of course, you got to be impressed with the skill level of Rick Bowling. He spends a lot of time, not only in this boat, but he's got a 28-foot skater, runs it all through the Delta, all through the year, and really racks up a lot of rough water experience. And just a quick shot there of a problem. The Honker Cut Marine skater already looking like it's got an engine problem. Got the hatches up. Not a good sign early on for Rod Kernoffel and crew.
And Greg, just behind the modified boats now, Factory 3 class. That Sieber Tech Eliminator, Bob Leach, Brett Sieber, their 2nd season together. A lot of success early on.
Really quite impressive. You've got a 33-foot Eliminator Daytona with twin HP 500s making about 470 horsepower apiece, so around 940 horsepower. The modified boats, considerably more power, Ian. You're talking about upwards of 850 horsepower per engine, so 1,700 versus under 1,000, and yet the F301 Sieber Tech Eliminator managing to stay right on their heels. That's probably one of the reasons why they are the world champion, in addition to being virtually unbeatable in Pacific Offshore competition this year.
In Factory 3, 3 boats led by points leaders F301 Sieber Tech Eliminator, Bob Leach and Brett Sieber. F309 Ultimate Warlock with Reed and Miller, and newcomer F333 Catitude, Tex Taylor and his son Tex III. A brand new Eliminator boat, Greg, F333 Tex Taylor Jr., his son Tex Taylor III, making their Pacific Offshore debut from Phoenix, Arizona.
Right, another Factory 3, Ian. Again, a 33 Daytona. Seems to be the boat to beat, not only in Pacific Offshore, but nationally in the Factory 3 class. Tex is going to take a while to get used to that boat, but an absolutely immaculately prepared entry out of the Bob Leach stable.
F301 SeaberTech Eliminator out in front. Bob Leach, 58 years of age. Brett Sieber, 38 years of age. Bob, years of racing experience, but Brett, he's a newcomer. These guys have teamed up well.
Well, they really have gelled, too, Ian. And you talk about a 58-year-old offshore racer, Bob Leach. You'd never know he was 58. You talk to him on the dock, he sounds like a little kid getting ready to take his bicycle out for a run after he just put some trick wheels on it or something. I mean, he loves this sport. He loves to race these boats. The owner of the company out abusing his equipment to make it better for the consumer. Just a fantastic addition to the Factory 3 class. And obviously, that's what Factory class is all about. We've got most of the manufacturers represented now, not in Factory 3 yet, but in Factory 2 and Factory 1. And, of course, Eliminator right at the top of the charts. As you can see, they're pretty stoked in that boat today.
F333, Tex Taylor and his son, Tex Taylor III, having what could be best described as a conservative run, Greg, just trying to get the feel for the boat and competition. On board again with our leaders, F301 SeaberTech Eliminator. There are current leaders in the Factory 3 class with F309 Ultimate Warlock and F333 behind them, and still plenty more offshore action to come as you're watching the Huntington Beach Offshore Grand Prix on Speed Vision.
Watch it. Whoa. You know, all we got to do is finish. Okay. We're way ahead. I'm only running.
For start number 2 here, Greg.
Factory 1, that's the single-engine HP 500 Mercury product. Factory 2, twin engine, same horsepower, same configuration. The A-Class and B-Class, both running 510 cubic inch Chevrolet engines, running about 775 horsepower. We've also got a number of production classes. These are basically pleasure boats where the owners want to come out and try the racing environment, see how they like it, and we regulate those by mile per hour. You can run anything you want, and we've got a green flag on the 38-foot cigarette. Ron Songrath bringing the fleet to speed, and they're off, Ian, for race number 2.
So start number 2 is underway as the field streaks down that back straightaway. Same course, Greg, 12.2 miles here in Huntington Beach. In Factory 2, 9 boats led by F205 Twister. That's Ray, Mousy, and Dobberton, your points leaders. F264 Team Advantage, Porter and Christensen, and F255 High Voltage also in the hunt, with F270 Team Performance Marine and F212 Team Eliminator. Bruner and Leach needing strong runs here in Huntington Beach to stay in the points chase.
Early leader Wes Metcalf and Bill Macias in the Nortec. This is a new Factory 2 entry, the longest boat in the field, and that's going to work to their advantage today here in Huntington Beach. As you can see, we've got some aggressive swells. The water's getting worse as the day is getting older here, Ian.
Immediately, F209 Ultimate Warlock, Sam Beller, Matt Grant, and F264 Team Advantage. Michael Porter, Jeff Christensen, they streak to the front of the pack in a very exciting class of racing here, Factory Racing.
Obviously, this is the way it was intended to be. You've got a Warlock, a Fountain, you've got a Nortec, we also have a Formula, all battling it out for the lead. However, the immediate battle for the lead, boat company owner Sam Beller on the Ultimate Warlock entry. Nearest your screen on the far side, another boat company owner. How about Jeff Christensen, the Advantage Boat Building Company out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona? He's really had a stranglehold on the class last year, and he's very competitive this year. He's won a couple of races, but he's got his hands full early on in Huntington Beach. There you go, 34 feet of hull length versus 32 feet. Both identical engine packages. That's what produces head-to-head racing like this, Ian. You're seeing it unfold early in Huntington Beach.
Well, F209 Ultimate Warlock, they have finished back in the pack the last 3 races, so they're off to an excellent start here in Huntington Beach as F264 Team Advantage trying to track them down. F255 High Voltage, Todd Willing, Henry Kaiser, Martin Sandborn, and alongside them F212, that's Team Eliminator, Tom Bruner and Brent Leach trying to make up some ground on the leaders.
34-foot Eliminator V-bottom boat. The company's owner, his son, Brent Leach, in the throttleman seat of that boat, and as you can see, doing a great job early on. This is what it's all about. Again, we've got many different manufacturers, a lot of different boats, all running within a couple of boat lengths of each other. Fabulous racing, Ian.
F264 Team Advantage, Porter and Christensen, you've said it before, Greg, they run loose, but always in control.
Well, step-bottom boats in a rough water environment may run a little bit looser than traditional deep V, but we don't have any traditional deep V boats at the front of the pack here, Ian. All the manufacturers have gone to the multi-step or at least single-step design. Then it's just a matter of dead rise. How aggressive a V-bottom do you have? How much keel do you have? Where does the pad start? All these things affect the handling of the boat, drive height and drive configuration. This is an environment where all the manufacturers are testing parts. They're moving weight around in the boat, see how the boats handle, especially in a rough water condition. It's a perfect environment to make the boats better for the consumer. That's what all these guys are doing. And in the meantime, let's go boat racing.
F209, F255, and F264 all battling for the lead, but here's F217, Dick Simon Marine, Roy Gertic, Tim Horgan, a pair of second-place finishes to open the season, but out of the running their last time out in Oceanside. What does it take beyond pure skill to race in factory class competition? Well, for the answer, here's our Greg Reichman with this edition of In the Cockpit, presented by Eliminator Boats. Nobody in the world builds a finer quality boat than Eliminator Boats.
Factory 3. That's the upper-end class of the APBA factory classes. That's an air-packing catamaran, twin HP 500 with the Bravo drive package. Very competitive. And in Pacific Offshore this year, we've had two premier teams banging on each other all year long to try to win that championship. The 33-foot Eliminator Daytona, that's the Seabertech Eliminator, the world champion boat, currently in first place. But don't be surprised if you see Carter Reed in the Ultimate Warlock entry, Ron Miller at the steering wheel, banging on the door for the championship. Two entries, it's exciting, but now it's going to get a lot more exciting because Tex Taylor has brought out the F333. Now, this is another 33-foot Eliminator Daytona, and it's an interesting piece of the story because we've got Bob Leach, the owner of Eliminator Boats, going to be racing tomorrow right alongside this boat, a boat that his company built. And the big question mark in everybody's mind is, will Eliminator Boats give their customers the setup and the power to beat them on the race course? We've seen this in other forms of motorsports. Brad Anderson builds alcohol drag racing engines. We've seen his customers beat him many times. Obviously, he's delivering the power to the customer. Eliminator Boats, they're fielding a whole fleet of race boats now, and it'll be great to see how that plays out. The company owner racing his customers. We'll see what happens on Saturday.
And from our Eliminator in the Cockpit to the action of Factory 1. Factory 1 features 5 boats today, Greg. F158 Green Goes with Lambert and Shinley have surprised everyone, including themselves, as they lead in the points chase. F110 Mercury Racing, the Donnelly brothers, trying to rebound from a punishing ride in Oceanside, as well as a 5th-place finish. Then rounding out the field, F111 Compute This, Cam Meyer and Hartman, with F119 Last Breath and the ever-popular F107 Checkered Pass. Bob Villa driving for the injured Mike Checker with Jeff Radke on throttles. F110 Mercury Racing, Patrick Donnelly, Clark Donnelly, and F119 Last Breath, Dave Anson and John Columbero.
Very competitive Factory 1 Class A, and it's dominated by Warlocks. Really the boat to beat here. As you can see, the Revo boat catching a little bit of air. That's what you've got to do in Factory 1. You can't afford to run these boats conservative. Single-step bottoms, they're very tough, very hard to handle in some of the rougher water. As you can see, chine walk, kiting, all kinds of handling problems on these boats. But guess what? That's what it takes to win Factory 1. You've got to be loose. You got to be on the edge. That's what Factory 1 is going to be about in a rough condition like Huntington Beach. Both of these boats exceptionally competitive. And then we go to the Levy craft. This is Rick Hartman. He's a veteran throttleman. I've raced next to Rick in Key West, seen him fly his boat 20 feet in the air, never back off. He's tough as nails. He'll be right up the tailpipe of those Warlocks today here in Huntington Beach.
First look at a team that has even surprised themselves. F158 Green Goes, Sean Lambert, Brian Shinley. These two guys just seem to get better each time out.
And after a couple of years of domination in Factory 1, it looks like the Warlock camp has got a meaningful and real challenge. Rick Hartman, the manager of the Levy Craft Factory, bringing out the 29-foot Compute This, an early leader here in Huntington Beach. And it looks like he's going to be real tough to catch, Ian.
Sean Lambert, Brian Shinley aboard the F158 Green Goes. These guys continually improve each race out. F110 Mercury Racing, the Donnelly brothers, they're in 3rd place right now in Factory 1 class. F107, that's Checkered Pass. However, no Mike Checker. Bob Villa and Jeff Radke aboard trying to make Mike Checker proud. And now F110 Mercury Racing, the Donnelly brothers, they're currently in 3rd place trying to catch the leaders. And we're going to step away from the action as you're watching the Huntington Beach Offshore Grand Prix on Speed Vision. Been A1 in motion. Jerry Sorrentino for everyone else as they sit atop the point standings.
But not setting the pace here in Huntington Beach today, Ian. You've got the A40, that's the IMCO Quality Marine Products entry. Rick Taylor and Fred Inman Jr. well in the lead in this race early on. It's a 30-foot Phantom, an exotic piece of equipment, full canopy, full air system, running in the mid-90-mile-per-hour range. Very tough to beat these guys when they're on their game. However, they've had terrible luck this year. They've been in the lead in just about every event and had some gremlin jump up and bite them. That's what you do, though. When you've got exotic parts and exotic hardware, the IMCO group is always testing. They've probably got some trick piece of equipment on there right now, trying to develop it for the pleasure boat market. You never know what's under the hatch when these guys hit the water, but you can be assured they're always competitive in the lead early.
So A40 Imco, your leader in the Offshore A class, then A5 No Limits, Raoul Brock and Dan McNamara, and then A1 In Motion in third place.
Well, actually, he was in third place, Ian, but as you can see, Norm Teague putting the throttles down in the In Motion entry, the A1 National Champion boat, and passing the A5, that's the No Limits entry, the 32-foot Cougar of Raoul Brock and Dan McNamara, and they backed it down a little bit, maybe a problem on the A5. However, you can be assured Dan will run it into the ground if he has to try and catch the leaders, and he often does. So we'll see what happens as the race progresses, and a tough battle, as always, in the A class. Again, these are 30 to 32-foot boats, 510 cubic inch engines, making around 775 horsepower, and we've got a problem, Ian. The No Limits entry down. I can see Dan McNamara standing out of the back of the canopy. Can't be a very happy camper right now. I'm sure he wanted to win this race today.
A40 Imco continues to lead. Inman and Taylor putting together a good run here in Huntington Beach, and a tough break there for A5 No Limits. Raoul Brock and Dan McNamara coming off that win. They're out of the race here.
Very conservative early on here. You can see the boat's flying dead level. I'm sure that Rick Taylor and Fred Inman Jr. have the ballast tank full, a little bit of tab in the boat, a great angle of attack. Really like the way this boat's running. And of course, Norm Teague, the veteran throttleman, not going to let him get too far ahead, because once the boat gets out of sight, it's very difficult to reel them in. So you're going to see this A1 boat keep the In Motion in sight. That's the way they like to run. Norm's not going to let him get away this early.
Here we go.
A BB in a boxcar. That's what the drivers, throttlemen, and navigators feel like in these open cockpit stand-up race boats. In these boats, no seat belts or shoulder harnesses are allowed. So the only thing that keeps you in the boat are these thickly padded bolsters. These bolsters, if they work properly, you'll be able to slip into the bolster sideways, twist, and lock your body in. That's the only thing that keeps you locked into these boats. So when you hit a huge swell or a big hole out there, you don't end up like a piece of popcorn being popped out of the kettle.
Here we go.
In Offshore B class, this field led by B72 Overdose, Maltby and Harriman, then B6 Pennzoil. A new look for this team today. Dave Rankin moves over to drive, and into the throttle position, legendary Bob Teague, who awaits a brand new Super V boat with Earl the Pearl Averill navigating. B30 Seabreeze rounds out the field. A different look here for B6 Pennzoil. Bob Teague, Dave Rankin, and Earl Averill aboard as they're trying to chase down the leader, B72 Overdose.
An interesting story in Team Pennzoil this weekend, Ian. Bob Teague throttling this boat, kind of a guest throttleman. Dave Rankin needed a couple of number 5 Super Speedmaster drives. Those run about $40,000, and he just needed to borrow a pair for the weekend, so Teague just happened to have some. He threw them on the boat, and in exchange for that gesture, Rankin said, hey, why don't you throttle this thing this weekend? Let's see how we do. Maybe we can take a race. Maybe we can win it. So give it a try. See what you think, and that's what's going on Team Pennzoil this weekend. Obviously doing a great job in a boat that he's not familiar with. Bob Teague's got a lot of experience, and Rankin's coming to the table with a great driving job.
B6 Pennzoil, B30 Seabreeze, both still trying to get the upper hand on each other, as B72 Overdose, Maltby and Harriman, nowhere to be seen.
Very impressive run for the boat on the inside of your screen. We haven't seen that boat competitive this year, but all of a sudden they're stepping up and running right next to Pennzoil. Not as much hull length, probably not as much power, but they're giving them a good run for the money. B-class, a tough battle today.
So B30 Seabreeze with Lucero, Delatorre, and Schroeder currently in second place, looking for their best finish of the season, and we'll have plenty more from the Huntington Beach Offshore Grand Prix on Speed Vision. Here between S3 Citrus Shine, Leo Black with Paul Whittier and Bill Macias.
Arguably the most difficult boats to drive in the sport of offshore racing. Joe Black doing a great job. Team Citrus Shine. A lot of success with this boat last year, and he's built a new boat racing on the national circuit. Still keeping his old 28-foot skater, running it on Pacific Offshore. And then, of course, you've got Paul Whittier on the outside. Always a tough competitor. He's run that boat in kilos, set records, been a world champion a number of times. Very experienced team. This is a great battle. Outboard powered, and they like to run at about 7,800 RPMs. They're very twitchy, these 28 skaters. They don't like to run slow. You really have to run them on the edge. As you can see, packing a lot of air. Take a look behind the boats. What you can see is that the spray goes away every time the boats launch and re-enter, and that's happening a lot. These boats spend just about as much time out of the air as they do on the water. Probably the most exciting boats in all of offshore to watch, and some of the most difficult to drive and throttle. This is stock class. Very tough racing in Huntington Beach today.
S2 Secret Agent trying to fend off Citrus Shine, who came back from about 10 boat lengths down. Right now, S2 Secret Agent, your points leaders in the stock class.
Air packing catamarans. Very difficult, challenging, exciting to watch. You can see Joe Black on the inside just got the boat completely aired out, even though we've got some very unpredictable swells in Huntington Beach. Again, lots of air on that boat, probably running in the 90-mile-per-hour range, covering 150 to 200-foot launches. When the boat re-enters, the engines zing up. That's where the throttleman's got to come in. You can't abuse those lower units on outboards. They're very delicate. Don't want to break them, and that's generally what happens on the outboards when you've got an inexperienced throttleman. But Joe Black, not going to happen to him. Paul Whittier, absolutely top-notch, world-class throttleman.
How does a team come together to compete in the fierceness of Pacific offshore competition? Well, for the answer, we turn to our racer profile presented by Jelly Belly, the original gourmet jelly bean.
Well, I race for the fun of it.
It's so much fun, and I just love it.
I've been involved in some other forms of racing, and there wasn't always a lot of closeness, and it seems like there's a lot of closeness here. This is my first season, and you know, everybody's real friendly, and there's a lot of help, and I'm a needy guy because I'm learning, so you know, that part of it is probably a real pleasant surprise for me.
Brian's wanted to race since forever, I guess, and it was time to race something. And the nice thing about boat racing is you don't have to have had raced boats since you were 8 years old to be competitive. It's something that you can start at any age and have fun and be competitive.
There's a great bunch of guys in our class. The Donnelly brothers and the F10 boat, they're great guys, and we have a lot of fun racing against them. The same with the guys, Rick and the Labby Craft. It's a lot of competition, and I really enjoy that. You know, we're just going to keep plugging away at it. We're going to do the best we can and try to just make sure the boat's running at the end of the race, and I think we'll be okay.
And from our Jelly Belly racer profile, we go to the production class, and it's L7 Sweet Heat, Mark Leonard, Anand Murthy, both from Pittsburgh, California, and both in their first season of racing, Greg.
It's a 28-foot Warlock pleasure boat, about a 10-year-old boat, Ian, non-step bottom, a traditional V-bottom design, and as you can see, still having a great time out here in Huntington Beach, very competitive in the production class.
Here's a brand new boat as well, E3. That's Bill Bowen Sr., owner-driver, along with Lance Hendrickson, a veteran.
You've got to remember that name. He's a world-class throttleman, Lance Hendrickson, and all of a sudden he's stepping into the smallest offshore class there is. And he's not used to being there, but obviously a talent is a talent, and they're well in control of the E-class here today in Huntington Beach. Bill Bowen's got to be thrilled. Never been in a boat before. Spent about a half an hour dialing the boat in with Lance on Saturday. All of a sudden, he's in first place on Sunday. An absolute Cinderella story right before your eyes.
E9 Ultimate Warlock, Steve Poliska, Alex Moran running in the exhibition class. And still plenty more to come from the Huntington Beach Offshore Grand Prix on Speed Vision. Welcome back to the Huntington Beach Offshore Grand Prix, and we're back to the battle in Factory 3, and your leader, F301 SeaberTech Eliminator, Bob Leach and Brett Sieber.
Focus on the rear of this 33-foot Daytona, Ian, because what I want you to watch is the spray from these Bravo drives. Every time the spray goes away, that's because the propellers are out of the water. When you're watching from the helicopter, it doesn't look like the boat is catching a huge amount of air, but let me tell you, it's in the air just as much as it's in the water. Every time you see that spray go down, it's because the propellers are freewheeling. That's where the throttleman comes in. You've got to pull back on the throttles, then back into the throttles. You don't want to lose momentum. There's a big trick to driving these boats in an ocean condition in a racing environment. It looks easy, but I can assure you it isn't.
F301, the class of the field so far today, Greg, looking for win number 3 of the season.
And Ian, they've really backed it down considerably. Take a look at where the water's hitting on the front of the boat. Extremely conservative trim. Probably actually some negative trim, just making sure that they finish this race in one piece. Even so, the boat catching a lot of air. Remember, it's a 33-foot long boat. That's longer than most of the boats you're going to see at your local lake. Sure doesn't look very big, though. This big Huntington Beach ocean is swallowing it up. And now we're looking at the other Factory 3 boat. That's Tex Taylor, a brand new 33-foot Daytona.
Yeah, that F333, Tex Taylor Jr. and his son, Tex Taylor III, really just trying to finish their first race here in this Pacific Offshore competition.
Back on board with the leaders. This is, again, an onboard shot of the F301. That's a SeaberTech Eliminator. Well in command, not really challenged. And they've stepped it on a little bit here, Ian. You can see the speed picked up considerably, but still, A conservative setup. The water hitting on the front quarter of the sponsons. Very smart racing here on the part of Sieber and Leach. Finish the race. Don't break anything. They've got the points well under control so far for the year. Coming around a turn, always a little bit unnerving in a catamaran, but they're doing a great job. You can see the water coming up. A little bit of a shower for throttleman Brett Sieber, but coming through the turn safely and straighten her back out, back on the throttles. You can see the spray coming up. Hammered down. Huntington Beach, a tough venue, but they've got it pretty well mastered, Ian.
Brett Leach, Bob Sieber, your leaders. They were the Rookies of the Year last year after winning 5 races, but F309 took the title. But this season, a different result as they've won 2 in a row, looking for 3.
Here we go.
In today's race, the powers that be have forecasted some mild water conditions with the possibility of some few large swells we'll be able to drop into. Along with propeller pitch and determining what we're going to run for props today, some of the teams will actually be changing the rotation of these props. They do this by swapping the drives from side to side of the boat. By doing that, they can change whether the props turn in towards the center line of the boat or turn outwards. The theory is that when the props turn in, it gives a higher top end speed, and it turns out the other way, it makes the boats more drivable in the rough water. The teams that really did their homework this race will be on the podium with a checkered flag in their hand.
Here we go.
Back to the battle now in Factory 2. It's F205 Twister with Ray, Mousy, Dobberton in their first season together. Last year, they won the production class in Production 2. This year, running back of the pack in Factory 2.
34-foot Phantom. This is a twin-step bottom, Ian. Not a lot of freeboard on this boat. Will Smith from Sarasota, Florida, kind of likes to build them close to the water. That's how they run best, and the boat is doing very well in Huntington Beach here late in the race.
F212 Team Eliminator currently in 3rd place. Didn't start out the season well, but after winning an Oceanside, they look as if they're more comfortable in this boat.
Another multi-step bottom. Again, that's pretty much a standard anymore in the V-bottom boats over 30 feet. Just like this formula, the Fast Tech bottom. Roy Gerteg bringing the Dick Simon Marine entry out and in command of the fleet right now.
F264 Team Advantage, Christensen and Porter, and a much smaller 32-foot Advantage trying to hang tough. They were your early leaders, but now currently in 2nd place.
Jeff's got the throttles down. The boat's looking great.
F272 Insanity, Tom Preeter, Glenn Hatch back in the pack trying to make up ground. Preeter, he's in his home waters here in Huntington Beach.
Still not quite getting this boat dialed in, Ian. I know that Martin Sanborn was very competitive in the boat last year, so we know the boat's got the speed, but this is a crew that needs a little bit of experience. I'm sure they'll be at the front before too much more time has passed.
So F217, Dick Simon Marine is your leader as we step away from the race action, but still plenty more to come from the Huntington Beach Offshore Grand Prix on Speed Vision. Production 3 saw L17 Heartthrob, 4 L7 Sweet Heat. Our friends at On Murphy and Mark Leonard, they were victorious. In E-Class, it was E3, Haas Offshore, a brand new boat with Bowen and Hendrickson. They won their debut outlasting E9 Ultimate Warlock, who came in 2nd.
Beautiful water and 2 world-class manufacturers, both Ultimate Warlock and Haas CNC sponsoring us. We couldn't have had a better day. Beautiful Southern California, and my good friend Lance Hendrickson right here, the ultimate guy in throttling. I just can't say enough. My heart's still beating, and so I really don't know what else I can say at this point.
Yeah!
In Factory 1, F111, compute this, with Kameyer and Hartman picked up top honors from Huntington Beach, their first win of the season. F119, Last Breath, finished up 2nd, and F110, Mercury Racing, they came in 3rd.
And actually, I was praying that they didn't break, because we were having such a good time. Even if we got 2nd, we'd still be happy. Yeah. We had a great day. It was real fun. Rick's doing an awesome job. Collins Computing, our major sponsor, Levy Craft Performance Boats, are really happy. Just really taking care of the whole program. We're really pumped.
Now to Factory 2, Formula Dick Simon Marine with Gerteg and Horgan. They turned some heads by winning for the first time this season. F264 finished up in 2nd, with F212 Team Eliminator picking up the 3rd place finish.
Formula is just a good, terrific rough water boat. You know, it's a 38 Formula, and they gave us a great boat to race. You know, it was back and forth all day.
We couldn't ask for anything better from the Formula company, and that boat is just the greatest thing we've ever been in. And we've been in high-performance boating for a lot of years, and there's nothing like this thing.
Now to Factory 3. Bob Leach and Brett Sieber continue their impressive run in Factory 3, winning for the third time in 4 starts. F309 Ultimate Warlock with Reed and Miller comes in second, and the Taylor father-son duo, Tex and his son, Tex the third, made their Pacific Offshore debut by finishing third.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A little rough today again, as the last 2 were, and but the boat's handling well. It ran real good, and we were fortunate enough to come out on top. So, great day.
Good day for Eliminator. You guys opened up a big lead and never relinquished it.
Yes, the Warlock, they're real good, tough competition. They're good guys. We all help each other out, and they run a good, hard race. We were just fortunate to come out on top this today.
Offshore A-Class, A1 in motion. Sorrentino and Teague kept their perfect record intact by winning for the 4th consecutive time. A40 IMCO had their best finish, 2nd place, with A5 No Limits coming in 3rd.
In fact, we didn't know that. I mean, we know it was a photo finish. That's why we came back in here. We didn't know for sure if we had won or lost, and lo and behold, we got it, 4 in a row. But we'd laid back a little bit. We wanted to save the equipment for Texas, and we got them in the last lap in the last stretch. We just got a good, clean lane and just went all out, didn't stop.
Offshore B-Class saw B-72 Overdose, Maltby and Harriman pick up their 3rd win of the season. B-6 Pennzoil, Rankin, Teague, and Averill came in 2nd, and B-30 Seabreeze finished up 3rd.
The water was real unpredictable out there. We tried to play it conservative, but Pennzoil and B30 were, right on our rears. We'd get a good rhythm going, and then the water just changed on us. We were flying all over the place, but we kept the throttles down, and the boat finished the race.
Hey, guys jumped out to a nice early lead. Then, like you said, Pennzoil just was kind of hanging around, then B30 just kind of hanging around.
Yeah, we got a real good start this time, unlike Dana Point. Well, he wasn't in the boat in Dana Point, but we didn't get a very good start there, so we're getting better on the starts.
In the stock class, Secret Agent with Whittier and Macias won for the 3rd time out in 4 starts, with Citrus Shine coming in 2nd.
Well, I think we just maybe found a little bit cleaner water on one or 2 of the legs, and we're able to keep our speed up when maybe they weren't. So.
In the modified class, it was Jelly Belly gone again. Rick and Ryan Bowling winning their 3rd race in 4 starts. Kid Stuff with Rivera and Clyde had their best run of the season, finishing 2nd. And in 3rd was Renegade with Ferguson and Kaplan, their 4th consecutive 3rd place finish.
It was unbelievable today. We had a lot of competition out there. We had Ragamuffin give us a heck of a hard time, and unfortunately he had a ignition or something go out, and he was down for a while, so he didn't catch us back up. But then Kid Stuff came up, and they were ahead of us for, 2 or 3 laps, and we were able to stay with them, and at the end had just enough extra to get by them. But it was a really good race. Those guys are no longer Kid Stuff. They're really a hard racing team.
I think we did pretty good. Our strategy was to come to this race, and this was going to be the first race that we really ran hard. It was a big hump getting through that Oceanside since we had our crash there a year ago. We came here with the plan to run hard. We had a couple rough nights right before this race, building motors and slamming stuff together, but I think things came together real well. For a little bit, we didn't even know if we were going to make it here because we had motors apart. We were thrashing in our shop till 7 in the morning on a Saturday morning, so we're real lucky to make it here, but I think it was a God blessing.
Of the 1999 Pacific from Huntington Beach. And like always, when we reach the end of our program, we turn to our Action Rewind, presented by Ettore Squeegee, the streak-free squeegee. Without a doubt, our Ettore streak-free Action Rewind would have to be the battle for the win between M7 Jelly Belly Gone Again and M40 Kid Stuff. For the Bowling family, being in the winner's circle is a familiar sight. But for Kobe Klein and Greg Rivera, taking home 2nd place honors, their best finish of the 1999 season, signals that this team is one to be reckoned with. For Klein, it's been a long road since the horrific crash last year at Oceanside. Seeing that the best medicine for his recovery was to get back into the saddle, Klein set out to redesign the M40 with safety in mind. After volumes of research and a course in welding, including a unique custom-engineered drill bit for installing the new canopy, Klein redesigned the entire cockpit and canopy system, giving him a better sense of safety. While M7 Jelly Belly took the win, their 3rd of the 1999 season, the true honors go to Kobe Klein and the Kid Stuff team for proving that a win isn't always in a checkered flag, but rather a determination to return. And that's your Action Rewind, presented by Ettore Squeegees, the streak-free squeegee.
Well, a fantastic weekend of boat racing from Huntington Beach, California. The spectators turned out in droves, and they weren't disappointed. A1 in Motion, they won their 4th consecutive race of the season. Jelly Belly, one of the favorites all the time, they won their 3rd race in 4 contests, outlasting the field. So an absolutely fantastic weekend. The sun was out shining, and a lot of spectators to boot. So 4 races already in the books. Our next stop on the Pacific Offshore Series Tour will be from Benicia, California. So until then, for our entire APBA Competition Offshore crew, Craig Ferguson and Greg Reichman, I'm Ian Howard saying so long from Huntington Beach, California. We'll see you next time on the water on Speed Vision.